Today we are honored to be joined by two recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor, the highest award for valor in action that is bestowed upon an individual serving in the United States Armed Services. We are only one of 12 high schools in Massachusetts fortunate enough to be joined by such distinguished guests today. Each of our guests will speak for a few minutes, and then you'll have a chance to ask them questions. But first, I'd like to introduce our school president, Mr. Kameza, to introduce our Medal of Honor recipients to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike, and again, welcome guests, trustees who are with us. I see trustees and parents and family members and friends and alumni. Welcome to BC High. I do want to echo Mike's comments about this occasion and the great blessing it is for this community to have these guests with us. You know, often at the school, I bet every one of you know, we speak about developing men for others, people who live lives of integrity and service to our community, to our nation, and to the world. And today we're grateful to have two men treasured by our nation as men of honor, men for others, men whose deeds spoke louder than words. Private First Class Gary Wetzel, who's making his first visit to BC High, and Captain Tom Kelley, one of our most distinguished alumni. We never know when we'll be called to stand behind our words, or even our highest ideals. But when we see someone who has done this, whose actions have been cited, we ourselves are made better. We are encouraged by their courage. The remarkable courage Private Wetzel and Captain Kelley demonstrated in Vietnam were such actions. Private Wetzel lost his left arm in an attack on his Army helicopter, yet he still maintained his post and single-handedly held off enemy fire, and despite lapsing in and out of consciousness, dragged his fellow crew members to safety. Captain Kelley steered his boat between the enemy and another disabled boat, and soon suffered severe life-threatening head injuries from an enemy rocket. He maintained that post and directed eventually his boats to safety. Today we honor these men for the living national treasures that they are. Without hesitation, we call them heroes, and we bear witness with admiration to their selfless actions. I have two more notes before I turn the program over to Private Wetzel and Captain Kelley. First, I want to remember Father Joseph O'Callahan, Society of Jesus, from the class of 1922. Father O'Callahan was a U.S. Naval lieutenant and chaplain who received the Medal of Honor for heroic actions aboard an aircraft carrier in World War II. Father O'Callahan died in 1964, but his courage and spiritual strength remain as a model for our lives in this community. And Father O'Callahan is one of two BC High alumni who have received a Medal of Honor. The other is Captain Kelley. Mr. Brennan mentioned that only 12 high schools are hosting Medal of Honor recipients. BC High is the one who was able to host an alumnus. Captain Kelley, a very special welcome home to you. And now let us greet these two men who have been so honored by our nation. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we figured we'd give each of our distinguished guests a moment to say a few words and then open it up to questions. Private Wetzel had started, so if you want to start to continue to finish your thoughts and then hand it over.
Before he interrupted me, no, I'm kidding. I was referring to, the American flag, and, we all look at it and can understand what it's all about, and we use that word freedom. But what we tend to overlook, and we all do it, is that we not only look at this flag, but look into the flag. Look into the flag and think about the ultimate sacrifices men and women have given you and I to be here. We all use that word freedom, 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 and we take it for granted, but I think a lot of us don't sit and think about what it's all about. Like Tom, myself, and other people in the military, we've had the chance to serve our nation and other nations, and kind of living, their form of government. But there's nothing compared around the world like we have here in America. And we're under this umbrella we call democracy, and every once in a while, if we don't like somebody in the political field, we have that right to vote them out, what we refer to as the ballot system. And Tom, like myself, have been in other countries where they use the bullet system, and I think the ballot system is the best. But, you know, you as young people with your future, and I've got a future, same with Tom, but it's more so yours and what you put into it. And I try and instill in young people about dignity and pride and respect of who they are. And we all, you know, tend to overlook that, but number one, you know, we have to like who we are. And every morning for as long as I can remember, you know, you wake up, you know, sleeping overnight, and you walk down the hallway, you go in that little room there, and there's that mirror, and every day I said, "Good morning, pal. Morning, buddy." And if I have guests that are staying over, they say, "Who the heck are you talking to?" And I said, "Me," because I like me. You know, once you start liking you, it projects, and that's what it's all about. And respect, you know, so important. Respect. And that's what it's all about. Respect who you are. And, you know, you're all here in school, and you got your tomorrow. So we've got something today. Hopefully, we learn something today that we can carry into our tomorrows, or pass on to somebody else. That's what it's all about. We're not only here for a good time, or just, geez, I'm in school, what a bummer. But you're here for a reason. Every time you see one of these flying, you know, think about that word freedom. But look into it and think about the sacrifices, ultimate sacrifices, men and women have given you and I to be here. Mr. Kelley, your turn.
Gee whiz. That's a tough act to follow. He didn't even go to BC High. But great words, Gary. And I did graduate from here back 59 years ago, believe it or not. And one of my classmates, born on the same day I was, Mario Conway, sitting over here in the front row. We were the youngest kids in the class, if I'm not mistaken. Just turned 17 on graduation day. I desperately wanted to join the sea services, the Navy, the Marine Corps, out of BC High. I applied for the Naval Academy of various ROTC programs, Coast Guard, Merchant Marine, but I had lousy eyesight. I couldn't get in, so I sucked it up and went up to Holy Cross for 4 years. And just before graduating from Holy Cross, I learned about a program that you didn't have to have perfect eyesight. You could be, you know, halfway there, so to speak. And they accepted me, and I spent the next 30 years in the Navy. My days at BC High, and let me tell you, it was much different. When I got here, I was telling President Camisa, my first year here was down in the south end of Boston, the old BC High, they call it. It's been there since 1840-something. And then they built the new BC High, and they gradually brought classes in here. There was one building when I joined my junior year, I think it was here, McElroy, which I think is still here. But everything was crammed into McElroy. We played basketball there, we ate lunch there, we went to class there. We probably went to church there. I don't know how they did it in one building. And there were no 7th and 8th graders at that time, just the high school. But one thing BC High did, it prepared me for the life that I ended up leading, a life of service to others. You learn that here. I learned it back 59 years ago. You're learning it now probably even in greater detail because you're doing a lot of community service, which we didn't have a lot of when I was there. Another thing, when I came through here, we had one black kid in the whole 4 years I was here. He was in my class. His name was Louis White from the South End, and that was it. I look around the room now. It's a much better BC High than it was then. It's so much more diverse. It's so much more inclusive, and I really applaud BC High for the direction they've taken. But BC High prepared me for a life of service by what they ingrain on you here. Just the traits that we think are embodied into the Medal of Honor: loyalty, integrity, patriotism, teamwork, and above all, service to others. Actually, above all, integrity. Without integrity, as Gary said, when you look in the mirror every morning, if you can't look in the mirror every morning and know that you've got it, then you've done something wrong along the way. So that's my message to you, that any one of you can do what Gary or I did, not necessarily in combat, but in a tough situation. You're going to be facing tough situations every day of your life, many times a day. You're going to see a fellow classmate being bullied, for example, by somebody else, by a bunch of other kids.
Call me.
Yeah. Oh, him. You see that hook, you know? He'll get him. But you can step in and say, hey, that's not right. If somebody offers to give you the answers to an exam or whatever, say, no, it's not right. You always know the right thing to do if you lead a life of integrity, and that's number one. And any one of you can do it. You don't have to be in uniform. You don't even be in military or law enforcement or public safety. You can be anything in this life, but it's there in you. All you have to do is find it and live up to it and bring it out. That's my message to you.
And you're gonna face a lot of things that, don't go your way in life, and I can speak from experience, and when I say that, for 20 years, I had all my limbs. And you wake up one day, poof, it's gone. And you sit and cry about it because it's not there, it's not gonna grow back, or you'd be miserable the rest of your life. You try and make the best of it. And believe it or not, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but I ride a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. And my bike isn't any different than anybody else's. I helped design part of my arm so I could pull my clutch in and out. And what I have fun about it is in the summer months, you're on that bike, you're in a short sleeve shirt, and you're at a stop and go light like this, and then somebody pulls up next to you and they're looking at you like, how you riding that bike? And I look at them and says, me and God, why? But, if you can instill things on other people and make the best of it, that's what it's all about. So you're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days, because that's life. But remember, like I mentioned earlier, respect and like who you are. And the thing is that if you don't like who you are, you have that right to change it. You can do it. And don't be afraid to put your hand up in class if you don't understand anything, because, if you need help, you need help. I can look back, in grade school when I was, a student, and the teacher say, okay, anybody got any questions? Then you kind of look around because you don't want to be stupid and put your arm up, but you learn in life, like, there's nothing wrong with putting your hand up if you need help, or help one another. And thing is have fun. Be a kid and have fun. And you're going to make mistakes because that's life. But you can learn by your mistakes and make better tomorrows.
Great.
I'm done.
Okay, I'd like to add just one thing. When I was over in Vietnam in 1969, I'd been in the Navy about 9 years or so, and I must confess that I kind of lapsed a little bit, got a little lazy about my religion. I didn't go to church every Sunday. I tried to lead a good life, but it wasn't that big a deal. And on June 15th, 1969, happened to be Father's Day, and we had an operation starting at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and the chaplain said, hey, I'm going to have a mass down on the pontoon at 2 o'clock or something like that. And out of the blue, I decided to go, and went to communion. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. And I got hit that day, and I swear that had something to do with me being around to be here today.
And let me add to that, because this is Catholic school here. But believe it or not, years ago I had red hair. Now I got that wavy hairline, it's waving goodbye. But when I got wounded, I got tore up pretty bad. And, with this, and I got machine gun, I got bayoneted. And in all honesty, I think, he was looking down and said, keep the redhead alive. So, here I am. So, and I go to church, not religiously, but I go, and, we have that special spiritual cleansing once in a while, which is kind of good for everybody. So, keep your faith and what this flag stands for. Thank you.
Great, thank you. If you're being bullied and Private Wetzel's not available, Mr. Hamblin and I can take care of that. We'll work in his spirit, I promise you that. We have a few minutes here for questions. So if you have a question, hand up, we'll call on you, stand up. First name, where you're from, nice, loud, proud, BC High voice, and we'll get your question answered.
Right here. Okay. What did he say?
First one, when did he ask, how do you get the Medal of Honor?
I guess, you do a lot of crazy stuff that you're not supposed to do. But, you know, you've got other brothers in harm's way, and you try and help them out and do the best that you can. I didn't join the military for accolades or get a pat on the back. I joined the military to serve my country for what this flag stands for. And if, you know, somebody's in harm's way, and I mean, and I was hurt pretty bad, but you try and give it the best shot that you can and make the best of it. What's, I mentioned earlier, I'm very privileged to be alive after 4.5 decades of wear this blue ribbon, but I spent 7 or 9 days on what they referred to as a supercritical list, and they didn't expect me to make it, but I bluffed them, and here I am. But when I got stabilized and I got shipped to Japan, some of the guys that I had saved found out Gary Wetzel was there, and they would come up the end of my bunk, and I'm all tore up, and they had to cut another 1.5 inches off the arm because of the infection. And you're just laying there and just, you know, a piece of garbage. And they would, you know, whip out their wallet and show me a picture of their wife or the kids or the girlfriend and say, hey, pal, because of you, that's what I got to go back to. And that's what this means. You know, you try and help somebody out, you try and do the best you can. And I wasn't looking for a pat on the back, but, you know, when I wear this, it's a part of all of us. And like I said, just a soldier trying to do a job. Thank you.
There's a lot of acts of valor that, like his, that happen every day on the battlefield and get unrecognized because there's nobody there to document it or to sit down and take the time to write it up and make it sound like a big deal, which it really is. So a lot of it is the efforts of other people and, of course, the team that you're part of helping you get out of there in the first place.
Great, thank you. We have a question over here. Jason from Boston. The question is, what is it like to
he's
risk your life
asking
for others?
What's it to risk your life for others? I guess at the time when you're doing what you have to do, you're not thinking about you. You're thinking what's got to be done or where you can try and help. So I guess that's, you know, see if we can help out.
And if you ask any of the Medal of Honor guys, there's 78 living right now. None of it's about killing other people or anything. It's always about love, saving a fellow soldier, fellow sailor. That's what it's all about. That's what Gary did.
Good. Yep.
Hands out of the pocket.
Well, I think it's a noble profession. Of course, it's an all-volunteer force right now, which it wasn't when Gary and I joined many, many years ago. Right now, less than 1% of the American population has anybody even connected to the military. But if you want to provide service to others, put others before yourself, I can't think of a better way to do that except by going into the military or law enforcement or something, or medical or something like that.
Yeah,
But you don't have to wear a uniform in order to provide service to others.
you look at the military, and not everybody's got to join to bang, bang, shoot up and kill everybody. Right now with the military, as Tom was saying, there's so many programs that they will teach you and you will learn. Now, once you're done with your time in the military, that will transitionalize with you into civilian life. And, you know, it's what you make it. And it's like, you know, this gives us so much freedom. And what's wrong with taking, you know, a couple of years out of our life to give back to her, say, hey, thank you. You're getting well paid, well fed, well taken care of, well educated, and things that will carry you into civilian life. So, military, is it meant for everybody? No. But it's what you make it, and there's so many programs that will help you out.
BC High has a strong history, as you probably know, a legacy of military service. President Kamiza mentioned Father O'Callahan. If you look at the wall of valor over there, I can't remember what building it's in. I always get confused when I come back to the campus, but there was three or four four-star generals from the Marine Corps and the Army who were BC High grads. General Dunford, who's going to be the new chairman of the Joint Chiefs, BC High grad. General Kelley, who's still serving in the Marine Corps. General Joe Hoare, who's retired 4-star in the Marine Corps, and General George Casey, who was Chief of Staff of the Army. They're all BC High guys, and many, many more who joined the service, particularly during World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and even nowadays. And so you have they've left a strong legacy behind here at BC High.
White shirt right here. Name and where you're from. Do you still remember the day you risked your life for others?
I didn't hear that.
Say that
Do you
again.
still remember the day that you risked your life for others? I'm assuming the events that led up to the morning of the...
And with me, is I have a micro segment of that day every day and night in my life. And when I say that, it's because when I go to bed at night, I take the war off and I put it on a chair. And when I get up in the morning to start the day, I put the war back on. So I have a little bit of every day, but I don't let it overwhelm me, or I don't let it control my life. It's something bad that happened, something good that happened. And if, like I said, if we can make better tomorrows, that's what it's all about. So, yeah, I think about it, but I don't let it overwhelm me.
I'd have the same answer. It happened. In my case, it happened 50-something years ago. Life goes on from there. You move on. And it may have made me a better person, a stronger person, but not something I dwell on.
Time for one last question. Right there.
Hands in the pocket again.
Did you meet the president, and if so, what was it like? Or multiple
I'll
presidents?
let Tom answer that first. I'll answer the second.
Well, when I got the Medal of Honor in 1970, my daughter Jane was there, by the way, and she's in the front row. She was about 4 years old. And there were 12 or 13 of us at the White House. President Nixon was the president at the time. And he went around to each of the recipients and somebody read the citation, they put the ribbon around your neck and then shook your hands and made small talk. And in my case, small talk consisted of, where you from? And I said, Boston, sir. And he said, oh, do you eat baked beans every night? And I said, no, sir, only on Saturday. And he said, humph. And he walked on to the next guy.
I grew up with 9 brothers and sisters. My parents were working parents. My dad worked in a factory. And when we would sit down for a meal, I'd ask my sister, well, when you're done with that, could I use your butter knife? And the reason I bring that up, because the first function or meal I had at the White House, you sit down and here's 9,000 forks and knives. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? And you're trying to look at other people to see which one you get, outside in. But I did my gig in Vietnam. I got highly decorated in Vietnam. On my 21st birthday, I bought me a brand new Corvette on my 21st birthday. I'm here, hot shot, driving around town in my Corvette. I'm working at a factory, and a bird colonel, a major, and a first sergeant came into where I was working. And how much does a young punk kid know about military law? I didn't. And they weren't at liberty to say why I was going. But I hear them thinking, like, I gave you enough of my military time. I gave you an arm. What the heck what do you want? And then it took them 10 days to convince me I was going to get the Medal of Honor. I'm like, what the heck? But once you get down to Washington, they've got different staff people, and it's how to address the president. It's yes, Mr. President, no, Mr. President, things like that. And I'm like, wow, here I am, from a working family. I'm at the White House, I'm gonna meet the president. And we're in this special room where they had coffee and crumpets, and we're kind of relaxing before the ceremony. When I received the medal, there's 5 of us. And then who comes walking in is God, the president, sits down right next to me, puts his hand on my leg like this, and how you doing, son? You know, you're like, fine, Mr. President. You know, it's like, it scared the heck out of you. But they told us that when we're in front of the president, and we stood right in front of the president, and they're reading off citation, and he's gonna look at you, and you look right back at him, and I mean, here I am in front of the president, and at that time, to be honest with you, I really didn't know why I was gonna receive the Medal of Honor. And then the Secretary of Defense is reading off the citation, you know, this and that, all the good stuff, and then, you know, I said, no, he forgot something there, he forgot something, they'll put all the gory stuff out. But meeting the president was extremely, extremely special in my life. And like with Tom, every 4 years, we have the privilege, we get invited to the presidential inauguration. So throughout the years, we've met a lot of presidents, and they've all got the different political outlooks. But what's neat about every 4 years with this flag, we have the right either to vote them in again or vote them out with the ballot system. But yeah, meeting the president was, they're all special because they're the president of the United States. And we, as a majority under this umbrella, which we call democracy, voted, you know, him or her in. And we try and make the best of it.
Great, thank you. We're just about out of time. You're well aware of the 150 years of BC High's history. Captain Kelley is certainly one of our living legacies at school. You guys are at the beginning of your journey. You're just starting to understand what BC High is. Every day you get a chance to help write into the history of BC High, the story of BC High. Take that seriously, guys. It's a privilege, it's an honor, and gentlemen like this fought and gave so that we could continue to have that here. Someday one of you guys may come back and address students 50 years from now, as hard as that is to believe. You will be our living legacy. As you walk down the hallway to lunch today, maybe walk a little bit slower, look to the right, look at that wall of honor that chronicles BC High's involvement in conflicts around the world and heroism and the military, and get to know some of the names and some of the faces. And when you walk by the Ignatian Wall and the Shields Wall, get to understand the school you're at, the history you're a part of, and how you're going to contribute. Everybody will contribute in their own way, but take seriously the opportunity you have to contribute. So one last time, a round of applause for our distinguished guests.